Black Panther Wakanda Forever is out in cinemas. Is Marvel able to pull off this franchise without Chadwick Boseman? Let's talk about it. Hi, my name's Drew and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. It's quite funny as this seems to be Black season. First we had Black Adam not long ago, now we've got Black Panther. I don't know how these things happen. I suppose it's just the universe doing its thing, I suppose. So, I was very interested to see this film. I saw various comments before going in, some calling it, you know, an absolutely breathtaking, amazing film, the best film of Marvel's Phase 4, which we are currently in. If you didn't know, that's basically everything after Endgame, you know, everything after you saw Thanos in this armor. That's all Phase 4. So everything from, you know, Falcon and Winter Soldier up to including now. And yeah, it's always really curious to see, you know, what they would do. Obviously, it was very difficult, to my knowledge, when Marvel started making this film. You know, Chadwick Boseman was still around, and they didn't know about his illness and had planned him as, you know, obviously the main character. That didn't happen. They had to completely rewrite the film. So that's already a very, very difficult task. And you're talking about a huge billion-dollar franchise because Black Panther, just for an individual superhero, is one of the most successful films that they have had in the MCU, particularly in America. So they had quite a difficult task to pull off here. And I feel they did a really good job overall, you know, just to, you know, just to give you that heads up before we go into the details. I think they pulled it off. To me, it's not quite as good as the original Black Panther. I'll come back to that, you know, more towards the end of this video. But I feel, you know, it's a very solid entry. Also, just to answer that question real quickly, no, for me, it is not the best entry in Phase 4. That remains to, actually, it's Spider-Man No Way Home. That continues to be my favourite film of this phase. And I'll be honest, I'll actually put Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness even before this Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That's my opinion. But it's certainly a good film, you know. So, yeah, it's definitely one of the better ones. I would say that. Now, as per usual, we are going to get into a bit of the plot without spoiling far too much. So, as you know, or maybe you don't know, but Chadwick Boseman unfortunately passed away due to an illness, and so he is no longer the Black Panther. And I feel they made the correct decision where they didn't just recast him, you know, and have another person playing the Black Panther. Instead, they actually incorporated it into the story and actually have his figure, King T'Challa, die of an illness in the story as well. And so obviously there's a hole there that needs to be filled on how are they going to continue the Wakandan people, you know, and what's going to happen and how did they deal with it. Also the family, within the royal family, you've still got his sister and his mother there, you know, so how do they deal with it? And that is what this story explores. At the same time, unfortunately, and I do mean this, unfortunately, it is a comic book film where they feel the need to insert, you know, we need to have some kind of enemy and we need to have some battle in here and all these things. And that is actually one of the bad decisions, honestly, about this film because it wasn't needed. While, yes, of course, everyone loves cool fight scenes and all that, I feel that there would have been a richer story here without, you know, the typical comic booky stuff. But it is a comic book film, so of course they went with it. Now, what is that conflict? Just to make it very, very short, in the USA, someone develops a machine that is able to detect vibranium, and obviously everyone wants it from Wakanda. They know that it exists. You know, after Black Panther, the first one ended, the world knew about Wakanda and the vibranium, and so they obviously all want it. Wakanda is very protective of it because they basically don't trust the world to have such a strong metal that they could really cause a lot of havoc with. And so everyone starts looking elsewhere. And so they develop this machine and it finds vibranium at, well, I don't know if it's the bottom of the ocean, but in the ocean anyway. And we discover that there's actually a people living down there in the water. Basically think, you know, like Atlantis, we're talking Aquaman here. That is sort of the way we're going with this. And just to elaborate a bit more on them, so these people, what I find actually very interesting, and I think this was also very intentional, you know, just to make it less obvious of an Aquaman copy, we are actually focused on a people that used to be Mayans. So they used to live in South America. So we have this race of Mayan people that has lived underwater for hundreds of years. They tried to, keep their distance to parallels to Aquaman, of course, because I'm not sure, I forgot to check, I must say, but the main character we are focused on with these people, with these Mayans, is Namor, or Namor. He also says his name is pronounced in the actual film itself. Now, I believe he is basically, the Marvel's version of Aquaman, because, I've mentioned this many times in previous videos, the comic world just copies each other, or did copy each other in many things, so it's quite funny. And yes, I can see that, they didn't want to have too many comparisons, so they went with this. I actually find it really cool. I really liked it. I like this approach, this idea that they are actually Mayans, I like that. Bringing in a culture you really don't see that often in films, so I really enjoyed that. And the short version is, they're scared that the world is going to come after them, and they're looking to Wakanda for support, that they will help them against the world, basically. And a conflict, is created through all this. And just sticking with that, that is the main plot. That is all I'll really tell you about the plot, apart from, of course, they're trying to figure out, the Wakandans, how are they going to deal with T'Challa not being there anymore? That's the other half of it. But yes, that's pretty much all I'll tell you about the actual plot. But going back to the conflict, that is actually, I feel, one of the very weak points of this film. The conflict itself that is created through this situation, to me, it didn't feel very strong in the sense of, conviction. It felt like really it's forced. It's really, really forced. Even more forced than, if you like to think that Batman v Superman was forced, the two going against each other. I feel this is even more forced, because it really feels like a situation that they just brought upon themselves, really. And, even Namor himself, it really... It just didn't work for me, this conflict that was shown here. Apart from that, I really like the characters. The story itself, I feel, is too long. The film is 2 hours and 40 minutes, roughly, which I feel it really did not need to be. Talking about the length in particular, I don't want to spoil it. There's a subplot that goes on, a sort of side plot, really. We are introduced to a new character. I'm not going to say who it is. We're introduced to a new character in this film, in the MCU, who surely down the road will get their own projects, films, series, whatever. And, this person is inserted into this film to give them a leg up, I suppose, to introduce them, because they feel, yeah, it's cool, we'll just get someone new. I feel it really didn't do much to add to the story. They could have left out this person entirely and could have created what they had, from that section for the story, even without that person. So yeah, you could have shaved off a very good amount of minutes there, without having that. But yeah. So it is a bit long for what they do, but I feel what they do is really, really good. So you have everyone coming up, trying to fill this hole. You have Angela Bassett, who plays T'Challa's mother. She is now the reigning queen, and I will say immediately, she is easily the best actress in the whole film. She has got such great presence. It's wonderful watching her on screen. So she really carries a lot of the film, I will say that. And yeah, couldn't find a more fitting person for that role, I feel. And then you've got Letitia Wright, who plays Shuri, who is a sister, and she obviously has to step up as well. So, and I will say, I was quite surprised, because I wasn't too sure about her, whether she would be able to be, convincing, whether she could carry that weight. I feel she did a very good job. She certainly surprised me, especially towards the end of the film. We see her doing a lot of things acting-wise, and I thought they were great. So it's definitely going to be interesting seeing her going forward, because obviously we're not finished with Black Panther yet. Why would we be? It's a great place. But, you had people, like I say, out there saying, oh, this is an incredible film and all this and that. And like I say, I feel it is definitely a good film. I still like the costumes and that. What really drew me to the first Black Panther were the new, fresh costumes and looks and the music. And you felt like you were just diving into a new culture. It was just fascinating and interesting to learn about them. Now, the newness is obviously gone now, it's not new anymore, so it's just such a steep hill to climb. Not only is it not new, the film, the place we are and the people and all that, but also you don't have T'Challa, who just had a lot of charisma. That just must be said. So if you're one of those people who says, is it better than the first one? Say, no, but it couldn't possibly be, it's just, that is not something that it could achieve, I feel, it's just not possible. I feel they did a really good job. You can clearly see how they're going to continue, and it really, you know, it's not one person replacing them, it's people coming together. You know, you've got several people trying to fill this hole, and I really like the idea also, because you feel that the Wakandan people, you know, they grow with this as well. I like the story, you know, I just feel it's too long. I like the story itself. I just feel the conflict wasn't that necessary, you know, because also the fights themselves, they didn't do that much for me. It wasn't that special. Speaking of that, again, comic booky things like, oh, we need more suits, you know, new suits, better suits and all these, blah, blah, blah. And it's Shuri actually, because she's a scientist, she develops these new sort of combat suits for the soldiers, the Wakandan soldiers. And they've got this sort of weird, I'll see if I can find an image of it and, you know, stick it up here, hope I will. They're blue, and they've got sort of, they look a bit like Horus, you know, the Egyptian god Horus, that kind of head. It looks like, with big eyes, with big round eyes. It looks like an owl or something like that, a big bird anyway. And that look just did not work for me. I really did like that. So I hope they drop them, or at least redesign them, you know, just refine that design. I really did not like that design. So, you know, it's a good example of how they always think, oh, we need, you know, a new suit, different suit and all that. No, you don't. You don't always have to make changes to the bloody suits. Just leave them alone, you know, in this case. Or, I don't know, like I said, that design just did not work for me. I felt that the Wakandan people and soldiers, etc., they have already got a really, really good design, you know, so why bother even? Anyway, I like that. So like I say, overall, very good film. I think it's also a very, very fitting tribute to Chadwick Boseman. I think that they did him, you know, they definitely did not do him a disservice, which I feel recasting him would have done, you know, it would have been a disservice to him. I feel they did a great job, you know, to really kind of fill those boots, but also, you know, pay homage and honour him. I think that they did that really, really well. I really enjoyed it quite a lot. And I feel, yeah, it was definitely better than I had expected. So various elements that I really felt are worthwhile seeing about this film. You know, just cut down a bit of the length, and I think we'll be fine with that. Okay, that'll be all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below about, you know, this film, comparisons to the previous film and all sorts of things. You know, did you like this entry in the MCU? Do you have a favourite film in Phase 4? Do you think it is Black Panther Wakanda Forever? Do you think it's something that's coming? And we've still got Ant-Man Quantumania, which looks very interesting. And I'm hoping, thinking it might even be the best Ant-Man film, which would be cool because I like the Ant-Man series. We'll see about that. Anyway, anything you have to say, please put that down in the comments below. I'll thank you again for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one on Flying Wiener. Take care.